I don't know who else would be able to be with me at this juncture of
Yes.
time in my life. Like,
Yes.
she is a godsend.
Welcome to Love Stories, a relationship podcast for successful women, where we talk about love, dating, relationships, and how great love stories are made. Whether you're searching for the one, you're madly in love, or simply curious about romantic relationships, this podcast is for you. I'm Charlene Byars. Each week, you'll hear from women, couples, and experts, and all the ins and outs on how to create your own love story. I am so passionate about this subject, and I'm so excited to share all the things that you can apply to create a beautiful love story of your own. Cheers to great love. Welcome back to the Love Stories Podcast. I'm your host, Charlene Byars. I just wanted to take a moment and share about what's happening in California. As I'm recording this, the fires in Southern California are absolutely catastrophic and overwhelming for so many people who have lost their homes and that are in a horrible situation. I live in Arizona, but my father, my niece, and my sister all live in Los Angeles area in California, and so do many of our friends. And recently, Mark and I have donated money towards the cause. And I hope if you can help in any way possible, because they need all the support and the help that they can get. These are the times when it's so important that we all come together and help in any way that we can. I have a few friends who are driving there with supplies and others who are donating money. But I am praying that California will get relief and the help that they need. And truly, God bless the people in California. Let's talk about the tip of the week, which is loving yourself and self-love does not equal that you don't want a romantic partner. Let me explain what I mean by this. If you still want a relationship after working on your self-love, it doesn't mean you failed. It means you're a human being with a beating heart who needs connection, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's this misconception driven by society that tells us if we finally love ourselves, we'll stop wanting a romantic partnership. And that makes people feel like they're failing if they still want a romantic partner. So many people see being okay alone as a sign that they're finally in a good place. But that is nonsense. There's no amount of self-love that will stop you from needing other people or wanting romantic connection. Because here's the deal. You can love yourself and still want to get married. You can love yourself and still feel lonely on a Saturday night. You can love yourself and still wish that you can share your life with someone. Intimate relationships sustain us. We need to love and be loved. And no amount of self-confidence will remedy that need. And that doesn't mean that relationships and marriage are meant for everyone. But human connection is. And we must not judge ourselves for wanting it. Because the truth is, as human beings, we are made to connect with one another. So you can still have self-love and still want to be in a romantic relationship. I am thrilled to welcome my next guest to the show today. Vernel Samuel is a dedicated pastor, mentor, and relationship coach with a passion for guiding individuals towards spiritual growth and purposeful living. As an executive pastor of Hungry for God Church in Brooklyn, he leads with a focus on helping others thrive in all aspects of life. Vernel's expertise extends to mentoring young adults, coaching Christian women in dating, and offering practical advice on relationships. He's also the creator and the host of First Friday events, where he provides biblical grounded insights on love and dating. In addition to his pastoral work, Vernel is an author of several books, including A Match Made in Heaven, which explores faith and love to help singles and couples build lasting relationships. He's also a licensed life insurance agent, a devoted husband and father. Through his ministry, coaching, and resources, Vernel equips others to grow spiritually, emotionally, financially, empowering them to live out their life, God given purpose, and create thriving, purpose driven lives. Wow. I had such a special conversation with Vernel about marriage, faith, from a man's perspective, and what it takes to have a thriving and beautiful marriage that grows and gets closer over time, and how important it is to find a person who you want to share your life with, and you both are leaning into your purpose, and you both want to create that together. This was such a beautiful and important conversation, and I'm so excited for you to hear it. With no further ado, Vernel Samuel. Well, hello, Vernel. Oh my goodness.
Hey,
I am
Charlene.
so excited for you to be here today. First of all, thank you. Thank you for being here today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. And you know what's so cool is that, um, when we think about this podcast and we think about how this podcast is all about love, relationships, dating, faith, all the things, all the things. And what I love today is, I'm really excited to have you on. I love, how you really truly speak truth when it comes to relationships and when it comes to love and when it comes to all the things. And what I think is really cool too, because I would say for the most part, Vernell, the majority of our listeners are women, and the majority of our listeners are women, and really either they are single, looking for
Mhm.
love and not having the best of luck, okay,
Yeah.
and maybe already, have had love before, but it didn't work out. So now they're kind of like, what's up? Or they're women, they're women that are in marriages and things have, just there maybe things are just not in alignment right now, in their marriage. Maybe things have shifted and they are looking to really enhance their marriage or change things up. So I would say that for the most part, those are our listeners. But one thing's really cool. We love hearing from men because it's just a different perspective, and I love to hear, the man's journey and what you've gone through and how you view love and all the things. So I was thinking, where do I want to start with this conversation? And before we get into all those type of details, I want to learn a little bit about you. I want to know about you. How did you grow up? Where did you grow up? And what was it like when you were a young man?
Wow. Okay.
Isn't that cool? Yeah, we're going back from the beginning.
Mm. Well, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay,
I'm the son of parents who migrated to this country from the Caribbean, from St. Vincent
okay,
and the Grenadines. And I just saw my parents along with my siblings. There was five of us. No, seven of us, five girls, two boys in total.
oh, wow.
And I just saw my parents work hard to make it in this country. And, I know today is a lot of discussions about 50-50. Should a man pay for this? What a woman has to pay for? But I just saw two people striving to just set their family up and set themselves up and give themselves a better life than they could have anywhere else. And so that was my example of what I saw growing up at home.
Wow.
I was blessed to have, s- a father and a mother, and watch them stay together. And to this day, they're still married, and they're in their golden years now, retired, and so I would say I just feel so blessed and fortunate, because in the same neighborhood that I grew up, I was probably the only person that I knew, the only young man that I knew that had a father and mother living together in the same
Yeah,
home.
yeah, Yeah, I mean, that really, I mean, I want to talk to you a little bit about how that actually made a difference in, how you viewed, obviously relationships, how you viewed family, because often, I talk to so many people, Verda, and I realize like, a lot of us, we don't grow up necessarily in an environment that you do see, a husband and a wife really trying to stay together, make it work. And I'm always saying it's no fault to parents. I mean, people have different circumstances, different situations. I get it. I get it. But that really does play a big part in, how they view relationships and what they, how they go about finding someone, because sometimes if you don't have any evidence of a healthy relationship, you kind of go out. I always say it's like you come out of a jungle. You're like, what do I do? Like what are relationships? How do I do relationships? So in that respect, okay, so you're telling me that you grew up with your parents, or what you saw were two people really trying to work it out, were two people like really trying to keep the family union together and make a better life for their children. And that's amazing. That's absolutely beautiful. How did that play a part when you, as a young man, when you decided to, go out and date and meet girls? What was it like for you?
Yeah, so I always knew that I wanted to get married, and
Okay.
I always wanted to get married young.
Okay.
So I got married at the age of 25.
Okay.
And so what did it mean for me was I didn't have, I guess you can say, I didn't have those fears about marriage that maybe if I grew up in a broken home and I saw divorce or maybe some abuse at home, I wouldn't have probably wanted marriage so young. But because I saw marriage in a positive light and I saw it healthy, I knew that healthy love existed and I
Wow.
wanted that.
Wow. That's beautiful. So there was something in you that you knew, like it was almost like a comfort. Like you're like, well, marriages are amazing. Marriages are great, like, I mean, there's no perfect anything, but if you are really looking at it with that way, that is such a different type of confidence to have, as a young man. And really go about and knowing that I want to get married young. So how old were you honestly when you started dating?
So I started dating maybe when I was 18,
Okay.
just so, I had girlfriends here and there in school, but like my first real relationship, I was probably 19 years
Okay.
old.
Okay.
And I was with this young lady for about almost 3 years.
Okay.
And I thought I was going to marry her.
You did. What
And
happened?
we grew apart.
Mhm.
And so that from high school into college, and then there was just so many shifts happening in my life personally. So
Okay.
I began to discover my purpose. I began to discover my callings.
Wow.
And at the time when I met this young lady, I was a musician.
Okay.
And so at that point in my life, I thought music was going to be the thing that I would do.
Okay.
And so, at that point, we just had this great chemistry. We were both growing together. But as my life started evolving and I started, I saw ministry opening up for me. At the time, I couldn't put my finger on it,
Okay.
but I just knew that as I was evolving, I just kind of felt like we were growing apart,
Okay.
and she wasn't necessarily aligned with where I was going next.
Oh, that's good.
So
Okay.
we just started butting head and having arguments about little things, and she also couldn't put her finger on it, and so she began to like maybe assume that maybe I'm thinking about another female, talking to
Oh,
other
okay. Yeah,
men.
because she felt something's off, something was changing. Okay.
Whereas,
Okay.
so we broke up after I had to. So like we had one bad fight. We were out somewhere, and she thought I was getting somebody's phone number, and we just started arguing in public. And once that happened, it started getting unhealthy, and I realized this isn't gonna work anymore.
Right. That's not gonna work anymore. Looking back now, this is really good. I wanna see if you can remember. Looking back now, during that time and, in your life, um, when you met her, obviously, like you said, you were at a different place in your life, and then something started shifting. So, what was that? Was it that I don't know what age you were when you really came to the Lord? Was that what was going on and you guys were opposite, or was it something else?
So we both were believers.
Okay.
We actually met at a church.
Okay.
So we both were aligned spiritually, but I always tell people being unequally yoked is not necessarily something that applies for only if you're meeting with someone of different faiths or
Okay.
different spiritual backgrounds. That you can be
Talk about that. What do you mean by that? Like, I
yeah, like
wanna
you can be unequally yoked with another Christian, because being aligned in your purpose means that where God is taking you and where God is taking you, as both of you as individuals, are you both going in the same place? Are you both going in the same direction? And so while we were spiritually aligned and spiritually compatible from a Christian point of view,
Okay.
where I was going next, like right now, I'm a pastor.
Yes.
Everyone is not called to be the wife or the spouse of a pastor
That's true.
because of the responsibility, the work, the authority, everything that comes along with it. And so I just really believe that she was not the one to go with me to that next level. We just weren't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there was something again, Vernell, how did you have that at such a young age? Because I know that you work with a lot of people. I know that you know what you do, and I know you see it all too, right? Like, you deal with a lot of young men. What was it that you had that, like, honestly, had that clarity?
I would say so. I think, like you said, I did start walking with the Lord at a young age. I got
Okay.
saved in ninth grade,
Oh, you did?
going into high school. That's when I gave my heart to the Lord.
Okay.
And I was always I'm not well, obviously I wasn't perfect, but
No, no.
I was vocal about my faith. I
Okay.
was vocal about my faith. So in school, people knew I was a Christian,
Okay.
and yet I was still, cool. I still played sports, did
Yeah,
things
yeah.
with everybody else, but I just had a certainty and a clarity about my identity in Christ. And I fear
Wow.
about being clear on that at a young age just allowed me to think independently. It caused me to not people please and try to, you know, conform with people. Like I did what I wanted to do. And if I didn't want to do it, I just didn't do it.
Oh,
And
that's
so I
good.
think having that ability to be confident in my identity at a younger age just still allowed me from that point on to just make decisions apart from what friends would think, or even times when even my parents wanted me to do things and I'm like, no, I don't feel like that's what God wants me to do.
Wow,
and,
that
and re-
is so
but
good.
yeah, real butt heads about things. Like my parents, when I started, like, for example, with music, when
Yeah,
music started opening up for me and I was getting asked to play for like secular artists and go into like places outside of church,
okay.
I wasn't what my parents thought. They thought I would just be playing at church all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Doors started opening up for me. I'm like, no, I feel like I'm supposed to be going to these places. And they didn't like that at first, but eventually, as they saw the favor of God, I guess, on my life in that area, they kind of just let it be. So
Yeah.
I always just was free to think for myself.
Oh my goodness, do I love that. That is so powerful because, that is something that if you have an opportunity and like you said, at a young age, like, you just did things a little differently. You were able to have some a little more different maturity, some clarity. Because honestly, like, how is it for the most part, when you talk to men at that age? I noticed that they don't seem this clear.
Yep.
Why? What's going on?
And I would just say, I guess it'll go back to my upbringing and my
Yeah,
exposure and just being able to see, like, I had a dad who was a great dad. Like,
yeah.
my father actually at one point used to tell me he loved me more than my mother.
Oh,
That's
really? Yeah, yeah.
really right. My mom was more tough at some in some regards than my dad.
Okay.
So yes, my dad was a disciplinarian.
Yeah.
Yes, he was all of those things, but if anything, I was more scared of my mom than my dad. So my mom was tough, like,
Yeah.
so she was that type of person. So I think, like, having a father who modeled humility, modeled authenticity, modeled generosity, I actually had a positive example. And
Yes.
again, that's why I feel I have a responsibility to be that and provide that for other men and for other people, because I know the power of exposure. When you don't have healthy examples around you, especially as men, men need examples. Men
Yes.
need to see models to follow. And I just feel like part of my giving back to God is being that for other men so that they can look at me possibly as the way I looked at my dad, as an example. Like, hey, I want to strive to be better.
Oh my goodness. Can I just tell you something? Thank you actually for saying that. I was just having a discussion with my husband, and this is our second marriage. So when I met my husband, I already have 4 children and he has 2 children. And between us, there are 4 boys, and they're older. They're 4
Right.
boys. And we were having a conversation about how important it is that we as, parents or, like you said, like as a man, to be the example, right? To be the example because I noticed too, like with young men and men in general, like when you tell them it seems like it goes in one ear and out the other. But if you're an example, like if you can show them by, your fruits, if you can show them, your by your character and how you treat, your wife and how you are as a man, that makes all the difference. Can you talk about that a little? Can we talk about that for a second? When you are mentoring young men, how valuable and important that is because I do have, believe it or not, since I do have, young men in my life, my sons, we're anywhere from 30 in their 20s. I do have some listeners that are this age. I just wanted to say this right now. I do have listeners. So I would love for you to speak on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is so important. The truth of the matter is that's the way God intended it for us, for it to be, that that as men, we ought to emulate and we are to look at something that we want to be. You know how we always talk about men are visual creatures,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So even when it comes to just manhood, we are visual creatures.
Okay.
So whatever appeals to the man in us, the masculinity in us, we're gonna gravitate to that. So whether, for young boys growing up, we love wrestling, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So we look at wrestlers and we see muscles and we see the energy, and then we're so like, hey, I want to be like that wrestler. Why? Because they look strong and they look big, right? So typically, men, we need to see examples to follow in order for us to be inspired. And so when we try to just tell people what to do or tell men, hey, do what I do or do what I say. No, they're not even just going to do what you say. They're going to do what you do, because that's the way that God intended for it to be. And so that's why I feel like one of the most important things, once again, you can do for a young man is to just get him to be exposed to the right kind of influence.
I love
Um,
that.
Unfortunately, there's so many bad influences out there, and the devil works overtime
Yep.
to get that, to allow those images to be. at the forefront so that they can see the wrong things and go the wrong path. But again, we have to be vigilant as parents and just as role models or whoever you are in your life, just to be able to say, hey, you know what? Somebody's watching me, whether I like it or not. Someone is looking at how I'm living my life, and is this the type of legacy or is this the type of example that I want to set for somebody else that's watching me right now?
That's wow. That is so powerful. That is really powerful because I really believe that I think more than anything right now, more than anything, that men and young men are crying out for that type of support. They don't know exactly what it is, but they are feeling very discouraged, lost. It just seems like now, people are not talking about, the truth and the gift marriage is. And, people are looking at marriage as, like more of a negative. And I would love for you also to talk about, marriage and how it actually is such a wonderful thing, for, a woman and a man, and how it actually, in my eyes, and I want to hear from you, how it really truly, when you have it right, it propels a man. It gives him a, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Oh man.
Mm,
When people understand the power of marriage,
yeah.
see, going back to examples, right? Let me
Okay.
back off of that.
Okay.
A lot of men today who are they are afraid of marriage because the men who they most likely probably saw to possibly be examples for them about marriage probably ended up having failed marriages, probably was had infidelity, had whatever different issues. And so now they're like, I don't know if marriage will work. Or if they saw, a man have a relationship with a woman and it failed, and then she took him to child support, and the man then has to lose half of everything to
Yep.
give to the mom. And so all those negatives are what men are thinking about. It's not that men are afraid of marriage, they're afraid of
Okay.
divorce.
Oh, okay. They're afraid of the failure of it.
Afraid of the failure because the men
Oh,
feel like, if I choose this person and she chooses to leave me, I'm going to end up losing more than the woman. That's how most men feel,
okay.
right?
Okay.
So based on whatever stories they've heard, whatever they've experienced. So me, on the other hand, like you said, like I said, I didn't see that. And I
Yep.
saw two people work together to build a future together. And that is exciting for me.
Yes.
The purpose. When God created Adam and Eve, first we know in the Bible, he created Adam.
Mhm.
Then he said, hey, it's not good for you, Adam, to be alone.
Yeah.
Then he puts him to sleep, and then he creates a helpmate,
Yes.
right? So it was Adam who named her Eve, but God said, I'm going to give you a helpmate. So when we see the first woman come on the scene, the wife of Adam, the partner of Adam, she was given to Adam in order to help him fulfill the assignment and the purpose that God put inside of him to accomplish. And God said to Adam, Adam, you're not going to be able to fulfill this purpose without a wife.
Ooh, wow. That's amazing. Yeah,
So
keep going.
when men understand that
Mm,
a true wife is a purpose partner and is someone who God is sending into your life to help push you into the fulfillment of your destiny and your calling, it takes on a whole different prospect. It takes on a whole different excitement and enthusiasm because now I'm looking at it I'm not looking at it just from the perspective of pleasure.
yep.
I'm looking at it from the perspective of purpose. And we both know it takes more than love
Yes.
to have a healthy marriage.
100%. 100%.
Remember, you that are watching, you all can relate to the fact that you've been with people that you loved, but the relationship didn't work.
Didn't work.
Why? Because it was more than love that was needed. And so our marriages, Charlene, are supposed to be built on the foundation of purpose,
Okay.
of the assignment. What's the calling? And that is what men need to realize. And I think if men understand purpose more, then they will be more mindful in their selection process, that you're not just looking at a woman's looks
Yeah.
as enough, because that
Mhm.
fades away.
That fades away. That fades away. So you're looking at marriage as a purpose. There's a calling here. Oh, that's beautiful. That's it. And so let me ask you this. Okay. So, oh, I love that perspective that way. That actually really shifts things. Okay. So this is the message I would say for the most part. And I am, oh my goodness, it's just ridiculous. I think I didn't even understand this. And again, I did not grow up my life surrounded by any faith. My parents, it's not about me today, but I would just say my background, was pretty intense, as a little girl. It was really intense. I didn't have any healthy role models. I didn't have any of this. So that was a completely that just was my reality, right? It took me as a woman and having a failed marriage, to really be able, is when I was ready to do the work, found out what marriage was about, all the things, all the things. It came later, but that's okay. You know what I mean? I got there. I got there. Yeah, it's okay. Amen. And so, and I'm still figuring it out. But one thing I'm going to say to you, and I used to think this too, I was just my mind, the way I thought back then. Um, I thought, and this is what I think a lot of young men hear, and I think it's the most disempowering message. I want your take on this. Um, a lot of men hear like, "Oh my goodness, here we go. You gotta go find yourself. You gotta go find yourself. You gotta go figure out what your purpose is. Do not, get married young. Go be with a lot of women and
No,
find out, right? Here we go. Here we go. Go be with a lot of women. Don't commit to anybody. See what you like. Go find yourself. Get your career first and do all this first and do all this first. And then what I'm noticing is that all these young men are running around, and I personally, and no fault to them, I'm serious, like, I feel they're lost. They're like,
absolutely.
"I don't even know what that means." They feel like they have to figure this out, but I don't they're not figuring it out. I think it's making them more disempowered. So
Yes.
talk about that.
Yes. And more indecisive. See, the Bible, which is the rule book that I subscribe to, and I believe it's time tested, and I think the principles work. The Bible actually says that a man needs to marry the wife of his youth.
Mm,
So the scriptures actually endorse getting married young, not later.
yes.
If we're to enjoy the wife of my youth, then the idea that as a man you need to wait and explore life and sleep with a whole bunch of women and just find your way before, I just think that it it opens the door for you to come into those bad relationships, those toxic relationships. You end up with someone who you have no intentions to commit to. That leads to so much drama and chaos.
Yes.
And I was always afraid of that. That was
Yeah.
one reason why I wanted to get young. I w-
Okay.
I wanted to get married young because I wanted to be with someone who, when I was going, so here's my mindset was,
Okay, let's hear it.
I have the rest of my life to build the life that I want to build. I would want to be with somebody that I can build this life with.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
my mindset. So for a man who says, "And I want to build my life and then find a wife," I think that that's wrong, because now how is she coming into your life to be that purpose partner,
Yes.
right? So if you're
Yes.
through everything on your own, and then what is she coming to do in your life? Unless you find now you're going to need something else to build together, so that you know purpose there.
Such a good point. Oh my goodness, I'm not even kidding you. Already, I want this episode to go out so I can play it for my boys.
Yeah, start young. Find someone. You think look at like a LeBron James.
Okay, talk about that.
LeBron James has married his high school sweetheart. Here he is. He's about 40 years old now. His son, who's now playing in the NBA alongside him, has never been accomplished before in history in any sport. We've never seen a father and son playing at the same time.
I
And,
didn't
and
know that. Really?
it's,
For
it's
real?
pretty cool.
I didn't even know that. That is so cool.
And here and LeBron James has built this fortune, has built this amazing legacy, this amazing career, but he was married to the person he came into the NBA with. And they built something together that look they're both they're both enjoying the labor. Like LeBron James, no, yes, while I was out, I'm the one making, the NBA, the big bucks. I'm the one going out and making the jump shots and doing the dunks and everything
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And it was his wife that was home helping to raise his
Yep,
sons,
yep.
who now 18 years later, 19 years later, here he is now coming in the NBA. And I don't think that would have been possible if he didn't have one woman at home who
Yep.
he was committed to and who was helping him maintain his home while he could focus on building the life that he built.
But no, you actually just gave me chills. I got goosies because that is such a beautiful point. How he was able to create what he created because he had that truly that partner, his wife, at home, taking care of his home, taking care of his children. So they literally were each other's helpmate. They were helping each other. And that is such a great way to look at it because the older, like if you're a young man, and that's what like you were saying, like I feel like 100%, like when you find yourself your wife, I mean, that truly is something that can catapult you. I mean, it's so you're not on your own. You know what I mean? You're not on your own. You have this person that is also wanting to have this beautiful life with you and encourage you and all the things. And so I would love for us to continue on having conversations about how we need to change the way that we're looking at relationships, love, and the beauty of that. So when you were young, so you okay, so you said you got married at 25, right? And how long have you guys been married now?
14 years now.
Okay, so 14 years. So you guys got married at 25. Talk about that. What did you
Eh,
learn?
Oh man, that's I'm not gonna sit here and say it was easy.
No, that's what I'm saying. You got it. Yep, yep.
There were a lot of learning, but so 25 years old, when I look back,
Okay.
I said, wow, that was young.
Yeah.
But when I did it, I just felt like it was right. Right.
Yes.
So
Yeah, yeah.
marriage has been a journey. There's so many things that I learned about myself along the way. Um, my wife is so amazing. There's no one like I look back at all the other women I dated and I'm like, I don't know who else would be able to be with me at this juncture of time
Yes.
in my life. Like
Yes.
she is God's a godsend and she
Gotcha.
inspires me. She pushes me, she challenges me. And because I know she wants what's best for me, I don't have to, I don't question her motives towards me.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
you know what I mean? So, having somebody like that every day, it keeps you focused. It keeps you on your toes, and you just strive to be the best as you can be. Like she's an awesome mother to my
Yep.
kids, but when we talk about being young, 25 years old, and
Yeah.
she's like I think she's 3 years. Was she 3 years older than me?
Okay.
So
Mhm.
you know, um, The question is, what did I learn? What did
Yeah.
I learn from? Okay, just learning how to live with someone else, having someone else in mind in everything else you do. That was hard for both of us. Like
Okay.
I didn't. So when I got married, I moved out of my parents' house, and she moved out. So we both had never lived by ourselves.
Oh, that's amazing. So you guys were coming so you guys were coming together for the okay, yeah, yeah,
For the
yeah. That's
first
talking about
time.
adjustment.
Yeah. So paying bills, for,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
first time,
yeah.
just paying rent for the first time, like all
Yes,
just new for the both of us. Which is another
yes.
thing why I feel like when you are getting married, like and when you're younger, it's like one of the challenges, like so let's say I have my own house or my own apartment, she has her own
Okay.
house, own
Yeah,
apartment, and it's like who's gonna move in where, and
that's
there's
true.
there's a lot of that struggle. Like we were starting a brand new life together at the same time.
That
S-
is so good.
That was fun, like growing together, um, discovering that. So one thing is, for example, I didn't know my wife can
Yeah.
cook.
Oh.
She didn't even know she could cook like that. So one of the things that surprised me is my wife
You're
was
like,
amazing.
"Yay, bonus."
Like she learned like, and then my wife is American. My background is Caribbean, so I
Yeah,
grew up
yeah,
eating a lot of Caribbean food like
yeah,
curry and jerk chicken and
yeah, yeah.
all that stuff. So my wife, she's Southern, like Southern
Okay,
background.
okay, okay.
So eventually, as my wife and my mom connected, she needed to learn. She started to learn like my mother's recipes for some of the Caribbean food. So
Yeah.
like I started having the best of both worlds. I was getting some Southern food, and then I was getting the
Yeah, yeah,
Caribbean.
yeah.
Food. But
You
yeah,
sound
so
like a spoiled man. Spoiled. You got spoiled.
and I can't cook, so I cook breakfast. Like that's my specialty,
Okay, okay,
and
I
she
love it.
handles the dinner. So my wife runs a cook. And then the trade-off is my wife can't drive. So
Okay,
I do all the driving, she does all the cooking,
okay.
and those are things that we used to fight about.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, so I used to get mad because I'm like, when are you gonna get your license? When are
Uh-huh,
you gonna
uh-huh.
get when are you gonna pass the test? And she I guess now she's a passenger princess because she just wants to ride around with me. But she's like, well, I'm gonna start driving when you learn to start cooking,
Oh, that's good. She
right?
good. She's good. She's good. She's good.
So those are just a lot of the things that we had to learn was just learn how to live together
Okay.
and figure each other out. And yeah, it's just that was one of the hard things. Another big challenge for us was when I went full time in ministry.
Oh, okay.
That was tough because I
That
was
was
so I was actually a teacher. When we both met, we were both teachers.
okay.
And when God started speaking to me about, hey, you're gonna work for me. You're not gonna stay
Ooh,
at this job.
yeah.
Um, I was like going back and forth internally about this calling,
Yeah.
and I never shared with my wife.
Okay.
So when it happened and the Lord said it's time,
Okay.
I just came to my wife and said, "Hey, babe, so I'm not gonna go back to work next year. I'm gonna do ministry." So at this time,
Wow.
we had already started our church,
Okay,
and
okay,
so I was bivocational.
okay.
I was teaching and I was pastoring.
Got you. Okay.
About so now about maybe about a year and a half in
Mhm.
is when I refed. So
Okay.
that was really challenging because my wife was like, "Well, God didn't tell me, so that
He
ain't
said,
happening."
"What does that mean?" And you're like, "Well, yeah,
So we had just had our firstborn, our daughter.
okay.
So my wife was like, "How are you going to leave your job now? What about health care, insurance, the income?" Which is of course the bottom line. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
"Don't worry about it." I said, God is working it out. Like he's setting things up
Nice.
for church.
Oh, wow.
I said, just trust me. And I was like, can we pray about it? And she's
Yeah.
like, no, I don't want to pray about it. So I was like, okay, I'll revisit this in 2 months. And we had
Okay.
two
Yeah.
kids from
Yeah.
in the summer.
Yeah.
So summer comes around, the principal is calling me like, are you coming into work this year?
Right. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And I'm like, Dave, did you pray about it?
Did you pray? Yeah.
She said, no. I said, well, I have to make a decision. And I made an executive decision as a man.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not going back. I said, God already told me I'm supposed to work for him.
Wow.
And I thought I was going to get her support
Yeah.
immediately. And she said, well, you're on your own.
Yep.
For like 3 years, that was like, I was really rough because here it is that I'm trying to walk in purpose, do what I
Correct.
felt
Yeah.
was right. And I'm striving now. I'm like, all right, I'm going to prove to you that what I'm doing is right. So I'm working hard, doing everything that I
Work.
can think
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
Like, hey, the ministry is growing, and the ministry started growing and things were going
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now it's almost like I, it was almost like does she really want to see this succeed, or does she want to see that it doesn't work out so that she can be right and tell me how you need to go back to work? So like, I'm like, oh, babe, look, you saw how many people came to church this
Yeah.
Sunday?
Yeah. See, I got a lot of people.
And it was like, she wouldn't want to give me no props.
Right. She's like, I don't know. I don't know.
Didn't want to acknowledge anything. And that was like really hard. It was really
Okay.
tough. And we had to end up going to marriage counseling.
Okay.
And I can't tell you, when I tell you hard, like we were talking about quitting on the marriage.
Right, because she like it was such a um shock to her because she like you said, she just wasn't even prepared or ready or what because that's a totally like you said earlier in the thing, that's a total different um perspective. Like, because before, women are like, okay, so you do your job, I'm cool, I'll do me. But what are you gonna do? Because she knew that there was gonna be, like you said earlier, if you are going and you're gonna be a pastor, she's gonna be right there too.
Yes. And at the time, she was like that. I'm sit back, like you said, you do your thing.
Yeah,
I'm here.
yeah.
But man, that
It was
was
it was
rough.
it was a lot of praying that time, right? You were doing a lot of prayer.
I was really like, man.
Yeah.
Oh man. But thanks to God,
Yep,
we ended up getting through that rough patch.
yep.
And now she looks back and she realizes, you know, how she made things a little hard. And
Yeah.
I look back and I say how I could have done things differently.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, I shouldn't have expected her, for example, to just
Yeah, just
totally go
just
along
just
with
jump.
it.
Yeah, she needed to warm up to the idea. She
I didn't give her that. And
Yeah, you were like, "It's happening."
and then even when I knew, I was bouncing around this idea for 3 years.
Yeah.
So I gave myself 3 years to
Okay.
prepare for this decision,
Yeah,
and I
yeah, yeah.
expected her to just get on board in 2 months.
Good point. That's really good, but isn't that cool though? Like, you 2, like that's a great story, actually. You know what I love about that is, like, you know what? That's what we're talking about. You guys are still, humans, and, and things, just because you had this feeling and, your husband, you're like, "I'm feeling this." She was like, "I don't know what you're talking about. It's not I don't know what are you talking about? I didn't hear him call me." Like, like, so, but that to me, what I love about this is that that's the beauty of a wonderful relationship. You can actually go through hard things. There are times in marriages that
It's
you can go through hard things, but when you have a solid foundation like you guys have had, you're able to work that through and with your faith. And that's why I want you to talk about more like that is so good. That's why I also realize with marriage, there is this protection for, one another. When you have that, when you look at marriage in that way, because you realize that you are married more, like you said, marriage is a purpose. There's a purpose in this. And
Yes.
it's not right. Like marriage is not just, oh, okay, well, you know what? We disagreed. It's not gonna work out. I mean,
Mhm.
seriously, there are layers here. And let me ask you this. If the listeners. So, like I said earlier, we have a lot of listeners that are females, okay? And they are struggling, burnout. Like they're literally struggling. They think, and I know this is not true, but they think that there are no more good men out there. And I know there are amazing men out there. What advice, if they have that type of, belief in what advice would you give them? Where can they start? I want to hear this as a man perspective. If they're like, "Ah, there's no more good men. All the good men are taken. Are there only jerks out there?"
Yeah. I
What do you
think
think?
first thing is that is we have to identify the lie that is, right? Because it puts you into a scarcity mindset, the belief that there aren't any more good men.
Mhm.
And number two, the next thing you have to realize is if there are good men, what is it that I have to do differently to attract them? Who do I have to become to
Oh, yes.
attract these great men that are out there? Because people are getting married every day.
Yep.
Someone is meeting someone who is aligned. And here's another thing. It's not just about finding a good man, right? Because in some cases that's subjective.
Okay.
So a person may not a, a person like I'm like for example, like I dated a lot of good women,
Okay.
but they weren't right for me.
They weren't right for you.
They
Okay.
were they were good, but they weren't good for me.
That's a good point.
Because again, it had to do with purpose. So a lot of
Nice.
times is what women need to come to a realization is they themselves also have to become instead of just being infatuated with the idea of getting married,
Okay.
they should be focused more so on getting more associated with their calling and their individual purpose because once they know what they themselves are called to do, they're going to now be aligned with the person that's right for them because there's going to be
Oh,
match.
yes. That's
There has
so
to be
good.
this right match. When my wife and I met,
Yeah.
what connected us on a deeper level was when we began to talk about the future together. When we
Nice.
started talking about our vision
Okay.
and what we wanted, what we saw ourselves accomplishing in our personal lives, I'm talking about what I want to do. She's talking about what she wants to do.
Okay. Yeah.
And we're like, wow, like it sounds like we're both heading in the same direction.
Wow.
We were both talking about dreaming about opening up our own school one day. And,
Wow.
we both felt this passion towards accomplishing this together. So when so it's not just about again finding a good man. It's about finding the man who is going to be right for your purpose. And I'm going to keep just drilling that home because if you don't have any clarity about what you're called to do in this life, then you're not going to have any clarity about the right person for who you're supposed to do life with.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's solid. That's really solid. So, what I'm hearing you say is something that's really important if you are, single and you're looking for love, like I said, it could be the second time around, it could be for the first time, like you've, never been married before. Um, First of all, when he said, "Yes," you know what? Thank you for saying that. That is a really good point. It's not just about finding a good man, because there are a lot of good men. Actually, there really are. But it is really finding out your purpose, meaning like what life do you wanna live? Why are what are the things that you want to build, how you wanna serve? That to me is such a different way, like a really, powerful way to look at, going into finding your life partner. Seriously, right? Like, I mean, we are talking life partner here.
And
We are talking Yes, what were you say?
not to cut you off. That's why I like the term purpose partner more than life partner.
Okay, purpose partner. We're gonna say this differently, everyone. So we're not doing life partner anymore. Okay, listen to Mr. Vernel. He's telling us it's no more life part. What do we need to say? It is a
Purpose partner.
purpose partner.
Who is my purpose partner? Right? Like I could do life with my friends.
That's true.
Right? I could do life with anyone, but purpose. Who that's you now you're getting into the reason why you exist, the reason why you live. And so when you know that there's someone who is assigned to for you as a woman, God has called you to as a helpmate to be able to align with someone else's purpose, another man's purpose, and then you'll be able to both go together towards the fulfillment of that purpose. So the first thing that God gave Adam, for example, in the Bible, he didn't give him a wife first. He gave him work first.
Okay.
He gave him a purpose first. So the way that a man is going to know if a woman is actually right for him is that even as a man, he has to know his purpose first so that he can know if the woman that he's now dating or courting
Yeah.
is right for him and his purpose.
And they have that alignment.
They
Yep.
have that alignment.
Yeah.
And as a
That's so good.
woman, you know if a man is right for you because if you ask him, hey, what's your purpose? And if he shares that purpose and something comes alive in you and you say, there's an alignment between what he's going after and what you sense in your heart is something that you feel called to support, or then you feel like, wow, this is something that can actually work. But if you
Mhm.
ask a man what's his purpose and I don't know, watch
I
football
don't
every,
know.
you know, then you have no place or no purpose in his life. And you know what happens, Charlene, when a
Tell me.
woman
Tell
is
me.
with a man and he doesn't have a purpose or he's not clear on his purpose,
And he's
guess what?
not leading. Yeah.
He's not leading, and that woman then becomes pushy. She now is forcing him and pushing him to do more because she's assigned to be a purpose partner. So she
Oh my goodness.
and he's like, why are you bothering me? Why are you nagging me?
Why are you trying to control me? Why are you trying to change me? Oh, that's why it's not aligned.
It's
That's what happened. Oh my goodness. That is right there. That is
so
like,
there's
oh,
to it. This is the way God created it and designed it to work.
that's why women are like all up in these relationships and they're like, I don't know what's going on. He thinks I'm controlling him. I'm just trying to be like, buddy, where we going? Where we going? And the guy's, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what she's talking about. Because there was no purpose in the beginning. They're like just two people were just why are you guys getting together? Why are you guys getting? Because I fell in love. Yeah, okay, but you know what? I fell in love. Okay, yeah, but you fell in love. But let me tell you something. You're gonna change.
You ain't always gonna feel it. You're not gonna feel that those butterflies and those goosebumps. Those things wear off fast.
Yes, they do. They do. But when you have a purpose, oh my goodness. When you have a purpose, when you really look at it for truly, I mean, the beauty of why God created marriage. Because you would talk to people like, I mean, bless their hearts. And you talk to people and you're just wondering why they're having so much problems up in that house, like so much problems. And sometimes it's just two lost people. It's like, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what we're doing. What we're doing. I don't know what we're doing. What we're doing. I don't know what we're doing. And there's no purpose. They're like, what are you guys building?
You
I don't know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm saying remember that that is exactly it. Two people in the same house. It's like showing up to a job and we don't know what we're doing every time
We
we
don't know
come
what
to.
we're doing. We don't know what you're doing. My poor husband, oh my goodness. Talk about the wife, I'll be like, okay, because I'm always like, okay, what are we doing? And he's like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. He has purpose, like, he's always at purpose because I'm like, I'm sunken in there. I'm like, "Yeah, it's okay. Let's go. Lead me," and he loves it. We just keep
Yes.
going forward because it really that's how it works.
And I've seen relationships where the woman has like all these great ideas and the husband is just like the person who helps build what she has. And
Yes.
so it works. There's there is no when it comes to like the dynamics and the roles, right?
Yeah.
It's all about again, there are some women who are very entrepreneurial.
Yes.
They have a grace for it. They can ideate and plan and strategize and get things done. And then the husband is just an amazing supporter. Like anything that she's able to foresee, he's able to help make it happen. And I've seen those dynamics work in relationships.
That's
And so
beautiful.
it's important that we don't box each other in and try to force a person to try to become something that we think they should be, but rather just learn how to embrace them for who they are and learn how to now, okay, let's lean into those natural gifts that's within each other and help each other just become our best selves.
Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful. That's really honestly, when you find your person, you have your person, one of the things is it's really such a beautiful opportunity, truly what you just said, to become the best version of yourself because you have this person that loves you and supports you, and there's nothing more awesome than that, like, honestly, like, having that type of support and really, like, having each other and being kind to one another and just being each other's best friends. I mean, you can move some mountains. Oh my goodness, like, if you look at it like that no, seriously, if you look at relationships, just like you're talking about with the purpose, and why God created it. And because, looks and all that, that's going to actually change. And that's okay. That's cool. That's just real life, right? You don't have to have that. Like, that's real life. But when you look at it the way that you do, and you can look at it like it's, you're married to your best friend. You guys have a purpose here. You guys are building together. How kind is that? That is just so beautiful.
It is. It is. And
Wow.
that's the
That
part
is
of that who needs to be
celebrated.
yeah.
That's why I'm doing this podcast, and I'm gonna tell you something right now. I cannot believe we already talked this long. Will you please come back? I'm not even kidding you. Please come back because I feel like I'm just scratching the surface with you. You have so much, value and so many good things to talk about that I really believe that people need to hear this. First of all, how do people get in your world? Seriously, can you tell us a little bit about, who you are, what you do, and where can we find you?
So I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. If you just type in Vernel Samuel, and you'll find me on there. I'm also on YouTube
Okay.
at official Vernel Samuel. I also have a book on Amazon called A
Oh,
Match Made in Heaven.
oh, okay.
So 6 spiritual laws to lasting love and connection. So if you go on Amazon and you type in my name and A Match Made
Okay.
in Heaven, you'll also be able
Okay, get
to
on Amazon right now, type his name, get that book because you already see like, he's amazing, he's the real deal, get the book. What is the name of the book again? Say the book again.
A Match Made in Heaven.
Perfect. A match made in heaven. Love that. Love that. You guys, there you go. You already have some resource right there. Absolutely. So, now do you, I know you're a pastor. Do you work with people too?
Oh, yes. So,
Okay.
I'm also a pastor of a church, Hungry for God Church, located in Brooklyn, New York. I also do marriage counseling. I also offer premarital counseling. I work with Symbis, which is a program stands for Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts.
Okay.
And so I'm a Symbis facilitator, and so I love working with couples that are getting ready to be married because one of the things that I learned looking back at my marriage, is one of the things that my wife and I say we wish we did was get better premarital counseling,
Yes, yes, it's so
because
important.
a lot of the things that we fought about when we got married, we realized like if we got premarital counseling, we wouldn't have most likely fought about those things. So yeah, premarital counseling, marriage counseling, dating coaching, I also offer right now. And so I'm just at this point right now where I'm just looking to just encompass all the aspects of relationships from dating to marriage. I just want to be able to help as many people as I can.
Oh,
S-
you are. Sorry to interrupt you, but you really are.
Oh, thank you. Praise God. Like, I'll just say this: relationships don't end wrong, they start wrong. So if we can get as great of a foundation as we possibly can get before you, especially if you're single, you have an opportunity to start right
I love that.
by getting counsel, getting wisdom, and being able to learn from the mistakes of the millions, countless of us.
Millions.
Like, learn from the mistakes of the past so that we can create a brighter future.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm gonna tell you right now, soon as my boys have like a serious girlfriend and they think they're gonna get married and all that, I'm
Mhm.
sending them, and I'm not kidding you, your way. I'm gonna be like, "You're not getting married until you're mentored by him." That's it. I'm not even kidding you. Everyone who's listening right now, you are not gonna get married. You gotta talk to Pastor. I'm telling you right now, let him set you up.
I love to. It would be my privilege to do so.
Oh, thank you so much. And I mean, I know like, it went so fast. There were so many layers here. There's so much more to say. Is there anything else that, that maybe you want to say that, you didn't have an opportunity to say, obviously before we end, unfortunately, you guys. I know you're probably like, no, don't go.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I just we're just encourage people, like, grab a copy of my book, just so
I love
that
it.
it'll give you some my one of the first laws, because I talk about the six spiritual laws to last
Okay.
in connection. And the first law, spiritual law in the book, is the law of unconditional love.
Oh,
And I've had people read that chapter and start crying in the middle of reading it
I'm gonna
because,
get it. I'm gonna literally get it tonight.
oh man, like that, just reading and learning about how much God loves you.
Yep.
Because so many of us, we go into the world looking for a love that really only God can give us.
Yes,
We're
that's
looking for a fulfillment. We're looking to um, feel like we are enough, feel like we're worthy. And in the world, people will make you perform for their love. People will make you feel like if you don't do enough, then you're not worthy to be loved. But when you come to God and you see God is love, and his love is called agape, unconditional love. What is that?
yes.
It means that he loves you without conditions. He loves you at your worst. He loves you when you're at your best. It doesn't matter to him. He loves you when you look good and feel good. He loves you when you don't feel good and you don't feel like you look good. It doesn't matter. He just loves you consistently, perfectly, permanently, presently. So the more you become filled with the awareness of how much God loves you, then it becomes so much easier to give and receive love from other people. So yeah, I just
Oh.
want you to encourage. I just want to encourage you to just get caught up in God's love for you, and I promise you, it'll change the way you see yourself, and it's in the way you see others.
So, thank you. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, this was such a special episode for me.
Mm,
Um, thank you. I know 100%, God brought this together. This needed to be said. People need to hear this, and especially how you ended it. Seriously,
mm.
you're amazing, my friend.
Um,
I
thank you.
appreciate you. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Everyone who's listening to this, please go follow him, get in his world, get the book. I mean, do whatever you need to do. Go and like seriously, if you know anybody that's getting married or engaged, send them his way because it is 100% true. You can set up your marriage from the beginning. You can get those tools from the beginning, and it's just gonna make things so much better, like, seriously. So, thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
And, but I really appreciate you. Thank you for this time, and,
You're awesome, Queen. Thank you for
thank you.
putting this together and bridging the gap between, the love, dating, conversation, and spirituality.
Thank you.
I think that's what's missing. And I'm honored, and I love the fact that you're doing this. And
Thank you.
yeah, we can definitely do a part two soon.
Okay, and listen, I'm not playing with you right now. I film at this really great studio, so if you're coming to Phoenix anytime soon, please let me know because we can have another podcast here. We can be live together. I can take you to my church, introduce you to my pastor. I can do the whole thing. It'll be amazing. Yes. No, thank you so much.
Sounds like fun.
Okay, sounds like a plan. There we go. Well, thank you so much. And till next time,
Till next time.
cheers to great love. That's a wrap. Wow. I learned so much today about the beauty of building a successful relationship with the person you love. I realize how important it is to genuinely want to build a life together, supporting each other and achieving your shared and individual purposes in life. That's why God created marriage, to be a beautiful partnership available to all of us. I also reflected on how vital faith is in helping us navigate the challenges life throws our way. Great love is so important, as is loving and supporting one another. Faith truly plays the biggest role in all of it. Wow. Thank you, Vernel, for such an important conversation. If you're loving this podcast and these incredible conversations, please hit the subscribe button and leave a 5-star review. Don't miss an episode because each week I'll be bringing on guests and experts who will share their knowledge about love, dating, and relationships so you can apply it into your own life. I'll see you next week. And until then, cheers to great love.